Hello everyone, how's it going? In this video, we're going to look into what is happening with NIO. The stock has been taking a beating since Friday. It was down 3.37% and this morning it's down more than 4%. What's happening? There are a few things that we're going to cover in this video. The new car, new brand. Big investors, where are the big money coming in from NIO? Then you have car crash and the lawsuit which was recently filed on Friday. So let's get started. The new car. The NIO has been announcing that they are looking into another brand, the Chinese premium electric maker NIO, which now counts BMW and Audi as rivals, is working on a mass market new brand that will be positioned similar to Volkswagen and Toyota. We want to provide better product and services at prices lower than Tesla. NIO has planned to deliver three new car models next year, including its first sedan. Now, NIO had come out with this tender. This tender was between JAC and NIO, where they codenamed this product called Gemini, where they were basically asking for different manufacturers to bid in for this tender for the manufacturing facilities that are going to be used in this factory. Now, basically, they came back and said, yeah, it is going to be a lower end, but not a lower end. What means by that is Gemini will not be a low-end product, and the NIO brand will maintain its high-end positioning. Basically, they want to keep that brand positioning for themselves, but yes, it will be a cheaper car. Now, the big investors. This retirement firm, the Canadian Public Sector Pension Investment Board, had hiked their share in the NIO stock. So they almost doubled their stake. They were at 7.5 million and they raised it to 14.4 million. This came out in their 13F filing for Q2 2021. Then you have the Citigroup, who raised their price target to $72. Initially, back earlier in this year, they had downgraded it because they thought it was because of the competition from Tesla. Then they raised it to 58.30, and now they're changing it to $72. Well, in the long run, from the upper view, these things does not make much sense. And the way funds and the way all these mutual funds work out, it's in a different ball game altogether. They're not in the field to make money. Just save that money, keep that trend going through, not in the game of making much money out of it. Again, something to look into. Now, the car crash. This news came out last week, where a notable entrepreneur who owns a couple of chains, restaurant chains out in China, he was killed in a NIO accident. So a lawyer from Beijing law firm spread remarks on the internet about the investigation of the August 12th traffic accident in Fujian, and we hereby states the following. A NIO user, Mr. Lin, died in a collision with an operating truck that was working in the Hanjiang section of the Shanghai Expressway. In order to ensure the safety of the accident car battery after the high-speed collision, NIO service personnel carried out a power-off operation in the parking lot of the accident car at 17:00 on the same day, and the operation itself would not cause data loss. Now, this is something interesting to keep an eye for, because basically this is an article which came out from NIO. So NIO announced it openly. Basically, they were talking about when the accident came in. It happened at 14:00, and then 17:00, within 3 hours, NIO personnel went in and took off the battery. Now, this is where the lawsuit came in. Basically, they're trying to send that the battery that came out, it's probably going to tamper with the information, because basically people who filed the case, they're allegedly saying that it was because of the autonomous feature, the NOP, which NIO has, and that's what caused the accident. And they want a full, thorough investigation into what's happening. And the way NIO took off the battery is something which is concerning. And if it was found that battery swapping, or that battery that they took out, it might cause bigger problems. Because this is something which happened earlier this year as well. There was another car accident, and because of the battery, there was a huge explosion. And that's where NIO's reasoning is coming through, where they took off the battery in order to protect or avoid that bigger accident. So this is something where the Kin, who is the co-founder of NIO, he said that Kin responded to a request from Lin's close friend and company partner on the NIO app for the company to release the driving data in a timely manner. So it looks like the family, or the restaurant chains family, also has some partnership in NIO. They have some relation going on, and they had some pull to release all the driving data. NIO provided the data to Lin's family over the weekend. Now, this is something that we're talking about the crash. When the ES8 had the autopilot function, navigation on pilot turned on. Meow is the restaurant chain owned by the gentleman who passed away, said in an obituary published on Saturday. But later, NIO said that NOP was not an autopilot and that findings would be announced when available. So basically, the restaurant is saying that the ES8 had the autopilot or the NOP navigation pilot function turned on. But NIO is coming back and saying, hey, the NOP is not an autopilot, and it has its own limitations. This is something interesting. Look into this. The NIO technician had access to the vehicle in question to operate it without the consent of the traffic police, said Lin Huang. And that's the same thing that they're talking about, where the person took off the battery. A lawyer appointed by Lin's family to represent the case, adding that the traffic police had summoned the NIO technician to make a statement yesterday. But NIO came out back later and said, no one was summoned, no one was brought down. If the result of the investigation is that the vehicle data was tampered with or destroyed, the technician will be suspected of a criminal offense and NIO will be fully responsible for the accident as per the lawyer. But look into this aspect. The NIO NOP manual clearly mentions that the pilot assist cannot respond to static obstacles. But they're talking about how the car went and crashed with another truck that was working in that area, such as roadblocks and warning triangles, and that if there is an accident or construction zone ahead, please take over the vehicle immediately to control direction and speed. Now, not sure how it's going to take over, but again, yes, it does create that fear out in the market. Now, the lawsuit, which is the most interesting aspect. Now, this came out very recently on Friday, where China's NIO underwriters must face US shareholder lawsuit. Basically, a judge, he said that he was not going to dismiss the case over statement before the 2018 IPO. So he's basically going ahead with the case where NIO and its bankers must face a shareholder lawsuit alleging the Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer falsely telling the investors it had a new factory under construction during its 2018 initial public offering. Now, this is interesting because back in 2018, when NIO was doing its IPO, they mentioned that their Shanghai factory was currently under construction. But later on, and this lawsuit is basically not just NIO, they're also claiming that the underwriters, which is Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, failed to do their due diligence. The factory was important to investors because it would give the company its own manufacturing capacity and alleviate NIO's reliance on a Chinese state-owned manufacturer, some analysts viewed as a third tier, they said. Now, basically right now, NIO is working with JAC, who manufactures the vehicles, and JAC is owned by Volkswagen. It's a consortium and basically owned and controlled by the Chinese state. That's where some concerns are coming through, because this factory is not owned by NIO. They don't have their own manufacturing plant. And these are articles back from 2018. You can see this was September 2018, where NIO doesn't have its own factory. It plans to lease a factory that is currently under construction in Shanghai. It expects that factory to be ready by the end of 2020. In the meantime, the ES8 is being built under contract by Chinese automaker JAC Motors in a facility that can build about 120,000 NIOs a year. But later, and this is back in 2018, right, when the IPO came out, in March of 2019, NIO came out and said, this was the annual letter, or the annual letter which came out for the year of 2018 back in March of 2019. In this letter, they came out and said that they're going to be dropping their plans. The Shanghai manufacturing plant. In 2017, NIO signed framework agreements and memorandums with the government and related entities in Jiading, Shanghai, to build a manufacturing plant for NIO. Recently, the company has agreed in principle with these contractual counterparties to terminate the plan for this manufacturing plant, pending signing off definitive termination agreements. The language is very interesting because they're talking about how they already had these agreements and memorandums with the government. But in this lawsuit, they're talking about and telling that when they tried to investigate and look into this and also asked some of their employees that there was no construction permits even issued against. So this is as per the lawsuit. But here this is talking about how they already had some agreements and memorandums and they had genuine plans of moving forward. The new initiative allows NIO to focus on the joint manufacturing model in the long term. The company believes that the existing JAC plant in Hefei will give it capacity and flexibility to support its market penetration and growth plans for the next 2 or 3 years. Later, this is fast forward going back to 2021, electric vehicle, and NIO is now starting to produce electric cars in its new plant in NIO Park. So it's planning on manufacturing their plant. This was announced by company boss William Lee. Construction of the NIO production facility has already begun, he said. This is going to be later in Q3 2022. Again, we don't know how, only future will decide how these things pan out and come into picture. But yeah, I found it very interesting. Just want to share this with you. There's no financial advice here. This is just research going on and understanding what's happening with the companies. So with that, take care, stay safe. Bye-bye.